Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris. This is The President Part 3. This is the fourth and final video in this series, requested by Oscar, who donated for it. I just shared a lot of stuff at the end of the last video. What is this? Sorry. Sorry, I'm just getting a lot of... You can find me on Google, or the Googs, as some people like to say. I'm one of the local guides, but they send me things every now and then, just to kind of tell you things. And I have photos up there that you can see. And I know that... I'll get this out. But I put a lot of photos up there from historical places. You're not going to be able to see this at all. Oh, there you go. My photos have 2.3 million views. It's just historical sites. You can find me on there. A couple of you have, actually. You add me, I add you back. If I know who you are. If you've added me and I don't know who you are, I apologize. If you're one of the subscribers, I'll add you back if you just let me know. Muhammad did. But it's not about him. It's about the video. Back to the presidents, and here we go.
Handled it perfectly. I mean, he did one thing that was extremely unpopular and fucked up, which is that he pardoned Richard Nixon. It was the first thing he did. Everyone wanted to go after Nixon and keep investigating and catch him and send him to jail. He could have gone to prison for what he did. And Ford knew that if he pardoned him, he would never win an election. There was no way he was going to be reelected. Yeah. Because everyone would just say, well, you guys are just fucking dirty. You're just pardoning each other. Yeah. But he knew it was the right thing to do. We needed to get there. He said, our national nightmare needs to end. And
to that, I disagree. By saying I'm going to pardon the former president, our national nightmare has to end. We have to come together. I think that's a scapegoat for saying, look, he broke the law. Let's forgive. Let's just move on. If I broke the law, would they forgive and move on? No. I go to jail, or I get a fine. I get probation. Me breaking the law and a president breaking the law, neither of us have a standing to make us above it. So I think that Gerald Ford doing this was wrong, but I completely understand why. I just disagree. If I'm in that situation, I could understand being in that situation and just feeling like I don't want my friend to go through all this, and if there's a way that I can end that, I will. But you also have to understand that by ending that, you're basically telling people that what he did was wrong, but it's okay. I pardoned him. And a pardon, by accepting a pardon, which I don't think you can reject it, to be fair, but by accepting a pardon, you are accepting guilt. And you're saying, I know I'm guilty, and that's exactly how it's laid out. By accepting a pardon, you are accepting guilt. But in that accepting guilt, you are basically saying, yes, I know I did wrong. And so I just think it was a wrong move, but I understand why he did it. Gerald Ford was a guy who, didn't really want to be president. athletic guy, played football. I don't know if he really cared about a second term, so that's probably why he did it. I don't know. Gerald Ford is no longer here, and for maybe the real reasons we'll never know, he won't share, or he never did share, or maybe those were his real reasons. He just didn't want his friend to go through all that.
Ended it. He dead-ended the investigations. He said Nixon, and then there's this. I remember Steve Martin, who was the comedian then. He was my first favorite comedian, and Cosby really was. Cosby was first. As a kid, I listened to Cosby records constantly. But Steve Martin was the first person that made me think I could be a comedian because he was so weird. But he did a bit where during that time, because they showed these footage of Nixon on the beach in California after he went home. And Steve Martin says, I feel bad for Nixon. He goes, I know you're not supposed to because he did wrong. But every time I see him on the beach with his big old shorts on and his metal detector, and he just drew a picture of Nixon just alone on the beach. And, Nixon stayed he did these interviews with David Frost, the Frost-Nixon interviews, and he opened up about himself a lot. And he stayed available to every president after him, would call on him. He was a great resource. Fascinating guy. And when Patricia died, you saw him at her funeral just crying his eyes out. Very human guy, Nixon. Very human. Showed his feelings. And he wasn't cool, and he wasn't hip, and he wasn't like, I feel your pain, Clinton. He just was an open sore. And I think he gave that. And I said that in the last time.
Yeah.
But so...
You saw that after. There's some people have said you didn't really see much of it before, but like he did go to the protesters. Yeah. I lost my train of thought again. I got like two flows of things happening.
Yeah, Ford pardoned him. And then Squeaky Fromm tried to kill him. She shot at him. Did you know that he says a woman named Squeaky Fromm?
That's the first time I'm hearing this.
Squeaky Fromm was in the Manson family. Squeaky Fromm, the Manson family, you know that is, right?
Yes.
Charles Manson, she was one of his Manson,
she was one of the ladies.
For the, the women who killed and the men who killed, Roman Polanski's wife and unborn child. Squeaky Fromm found a way to get to him, and she took a shot at him with a rifle. And there was one guy, some cop, who hit the rifle away, saved his life, and that guy was gay. Just a piece of news.
Nice.
And I always combine that guy in my head to the guy on the plane, Flight 93. It was a gay rugby player. It was one of the guys who said,
Let's Roll guys?
Let's roll. Yeah. Okay. So...
But that got
gay
shot
people
down.
are all heroes. Gay dads are the
Flight
best.
93 got shot down.
What's that?
Flight 93 got blown up with a missile.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It was the missile that it went on after, and it hit the moon. It kept going through it. It hit the plane. So Ford.
Carter.
So Ford runs with Bob Dole as the vice
I only
president.
know Bob Dole, just Norm Macdonald. That's
So
it.
Bob Dole.
That's it.
There's a great documentary about presidential debates. It's one of the best documentaries. It's like a PBS documentary about presidential debates. And they talked to a lot of the guys, the real guys. It's like PBS or something. Bob Dole debated Walter Mondale, who was Jimmy Carter's guy, his vice president. And they asked Mondale about this moment. They're talking about war and military, and Bob Dole said, "Well, the Democrats they love war." He goes, "World War II, that was a Democrat war," and he said that, and then they cut to Mondale going like this, and he said,
that was
and
awesome.
then they cut to Mondale in the documentary. It's 6 o'clock.
Is that real?
Country, yeah. You got to know it's 6 o'clock.
Is it The Purge? What is this? They blare this at I was like, this is terrifying. We're not coming back to the woods.
I drank too much coffee.
So Walter Mondale and Norm Macdonald are having the debate.
So he's debating Norm Macdonald, and Dole says this is World War II. That was a Democrat war, and Mondale says in the documentary, "I knew we were going to win that was it. That was the moment that won the election." So that's apparently
it used to be like that. It used to be one gaffe.
Yes.
That was it. Like
right.
fucking, wasn't it Quayle couldn't spell something?
Yes, but
fucking
Dean, what's his name?
No!
Dean.
Quayle couldn't spell potato, if I'm thinking correctly.
Bye.
Meanwhile,
Hart with a woman on his knee,
no,
on a yacht.
What was that?
Gary Hart was supposed to be the president of the United States.
Yeah.
He was a Kennedy-like, beautiful.
There's a movie based off of Gary Hart. I think Hugh Jackman plays him. You know, Wolverine. But that's an interesting one because I never heard of him. But yeah, they'll get into it. I can't really add much, but it's a good movie, and I don't remember the name of it. But you could probably, if you have interest, you could probably look it up. It was a really good movie.
Looking guy. He was a Democrat from, I don't remember what state Gary Hart was from, but he was beloved. And then they found a picture of him on a yacht in Bimini with a girl on his knee that wasn't his wife. See ya. That was the end of him.
It wasn't just that. It was also, he had a girl on his lap, but he also would leave the room to take phone calls from mysterious women. A bit of a Bill Clinton-esque kind of guy in terms of a ladies' man. Bill Clinton. I love the ladies.
But so, and Bob Dole, by the way, was a war hero.
Yeah.
He was in some horrible hill in Europe. And he was one of those guys where when a medic found him, he just took some of his blood and put an M on his forehead, which means morphine. And all that is to tell anybody coming by,
drug him, he's dead.
Just give him more morphine.
Yeah.
He's not going to make it. I don't have any on me. So, and then they sent Bob Dole home to Kansas. And his father, get up, Rosie, get up there. Get up there. His father owned a drugstore. And they would just take him to the drugstore, and he was just like this, and they'd just lean him against and just let him sit in the corner. And nobody thought he could hear because he looked so fucked up. And some neighbor pointed right at him. Some neighbor sitting at the ice cream counter, the drugstore, pointed at Dole and said to his friend, I would kill myself if that was me.
Oh, no.
And Dole heard this, and it was the most pitiful moment in his life. And it was the moment that turned him around because he realized I gotta start working out. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm so close. Somebody just said that if they were me, they would kill themselves.
Yeah.
And he felt so sorry for himself. But the next thought was, it's time for me to start. And he became almost twice became president. I met Dole. I've met some weird people. I met him. I was a writer at Conan, and Dole was a guest. And I remember thinking at the time, fuck Bob Dole. He's the one guy I would be rude to him. You know, like you fantasize. Yeah. I wouldn't even be nice to that guy. I would be rude to that guy if I met him. And I was standing in outside the studio, and the elevator's open, and out comes Bob Dole with no entourage. Like you picture, he was at the time, he was like the fucking Senate Majority Leader, and he came out alone. He held a pen in his right hand always, because his right hand was was crippled.
And that's why he would shake with his left.
Yeah, because he didn't want you to reach for his right, and he didn't want you to be embarrassed. So he held a pen there, and you'd see it. So
That's thoughtful.
So you'd ask for his left hand. Yes.
Isn't that the worst when you shake someone's hand? They have like
and they
one
go, sorry, in World War II. So
you go, well, now I feel gross.
Yeah. So he walks out of the elevator, and I'm standing there, and he just walks right up to me, and he goes, "Hey, I'm Bob Dole." And I go, "Yeah, you don't have to. There's a producer. I'll get a producer. You know,
I'll help you.
I'm not.
I'll help you.
You don't stop at me." Like I'm telling him to just keep walking.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, what's your name?" My name's Louis. He goes, What do you do? And I go, I'm a writer. I'm a comedy writer. He goes, that's hard. Boy, that's hard. That's a hard job. Trying to be funny. That's a damn hard job. How'd you come to that? And I go, well, I'm stand-up comedy. Oh, that guy, that's even harder. Yeah, comedy. I got to really respect you. He just stood there and talked to me.
Yeah.
And I said, where are you coming from? He goes, well, I just had to give a speech at this thing. And, luckily got to go early because I'm in the D's because my name's Dole. You know what I mean? Just made a few cheap jokes. And he let the fucking conversation have an arc. And then he went like, will you tell me who I should speak to? Like he did the whole, and I introduced him to the producer, and I was like, I love Bob Dole.
That's exactly the person that you're the person that you're expecting. Maybe you really want to meet will kind of blow you off. The person you don't want to meet, or you have this anticipation or expectation of, God, I hate that person. They're going to be the ones that win you over, because that's just who they are naturally. You might see them one way, like in an interview or at a podium or whatever, and then you meet them and you're just like, all your expectations of who this person is and how come I don't like them, gone. And you're like, wow, I can't despise this person because they were extremely nice to me. They don't know that I don't like them. If they did, it probably wouldn't have changed their interaction. Because you are a fart in the wind in this person's life. You're just kind of there and you pass. But to you, that person, that interaction will always be there. To any Americans or any football fans out there, I attended an indoor football game, Peoria Pirates. They were an indoor football team. They weren't around very long, but they started off amazing. Undefeated season, lost in a championship, but then next year, undefeated season. They were great. But the very first year that this league kind of came about, what would he have been? President of Operations was a Hall of Fame former NFL player, Hall of Famer, Kellen Winslow. And be right back, because I know you're going to say, yeah, right, Chris. You're right. Be right back. Okay, so I cannot find that autograph. But it was on the back of a piece of paper. But it was Kellen Winslow, and then he signed it, Hall of Fame, 19... I don't remember. And the sad part is, it was clipped to my wall, and I don't see it, and I don't know if I moved it to safekeeping, or if it was stolen, lost. I have no idea. And that sucks. What's sad is that it's been apparently gone for so long I didn't even notice. But anyways, I recognized him, bumped into him, getting a hot dog. Then I demanded that I pay for his hot dog. And he was like, it's free for me. And I think I got a little upset that it was free for him, but I had to pay. Who does he think he is? Well, I was just joking. But yeah, I can't find it. Maybe I'll come across it somewhere. I must have moved it to somewhere safe. But you can call me a liar until I prove it. It's acceptable. That stinks. Anyways, he was a really nice man. His son went on to play in the NFL, was drafted by Cleveland Browns. His son is going to be in jail for a long time. Sexual assault. He did a lot of bad things. And his son had so much potential. But anyways, yeah, I'm sorry I can't find it. I'll try to find it sometime and then reference this video.
I love Bob Dole. He's my favorite guy in the world. All right. Carter wins, and Carter was the first truly liberal president. Like, he was such a liberally minded president. Jack Kennedy had liberal politics, but he was also about being the first Catholic, first Irish Catholic president in the United States. And he was about his dad bought him the election, just bought it with a suitcase of money. And he was a powerful fucking guy from a legacy of smugglers.
Yep.
And but Jimmy Carter was a farmer, a peanut farmer.
Yep.
From Georgia.
Yep.
Who rose to be governor of Georgia because he was a conscientious guy and he got involved in local politics and he made his way up. He was like John Adams. He was just a guy who saw problems, saw ways to solve them, and he was really about helping people. He was really about that was his heart, I'm saying, right? And his brother Billy. So the saddest thing in the world is Billy Carter, because Billy was a joke in America when I was a kid. He was just a fun. They had Billy Beer they had a brand of beer named after him, and he died alcohol poisoning.
Jesus,
he was just a known drunk.
A beer for him.
Yes, he was just a known drunk idiot that everybody made fun of. And I saw one interview with Jimmy where he talked about Billy, and he was very bitter about it. He said Billy was a very wise, smart, and gentle soul who never drank his whole life. He just wasn't a drinker. And when I became president, it killed him. Because people went down, they got interested in who's the president's brother.
They started interviewing him and shit.
Him, and he had these little country wisdom, and people liked it. So they started printing his things.
But then,
he started going on speaking tours, and he starts getting used by people. I could use Billy Carter, and he's doing speeches, and he's on the road, and he starts drinking because that's the lifestyle, and it actually helps you get through it. And he became an alcoholic. And he says, I mean, Jimmy said in this interview, like, they kill my brother, these people. They kill my brother.
Can't do the road without booze.
No, it's hard, but you need to learn how to do it.
No.
You're going to die.
I'd like to be
How
Billy.
old was Billy Carter when he died? How old was Billy Carter when he
fucking
died?
jinx me.
Let me know when not jinx you. Warn you. There's a fucking difference. Fucking idiot. Jinx.
You gonna jinx me?
It's like you go to a doctor. He's like, you're going to get pancreatic cancer if you don't change your diet. And you're like, what are you, jinxing me?
That's a bit of a jinx.
No,
that's a jinx.
No, it's not. It's a fucking useful warning.
I've never even heard of pancreatic cancer. You just brought that into
Bill
my world.
Hicks died of pancreatic cancer.
Billy Carter was 51 when he died.
Okay, how old are you?
34.
You've got how many years between? Will you do the math? Look up the math on on Google. Google, how much is 51 minus
17?
You got 17 years left unless you stop drinking on the road. 17
That's pretty
years left.
good.
Okay, if that's how many you want. I'm 54. You die younger than me. Okay. Jimmy Carter.
Everybody always says
Here's
he
how
sucked.
liberal Jimmy Carter
Everybody
was.
said he sucked.
What?
Everybody says Jimmy Carter
Yeah, that's
sucked.
the way they talk about folks. It's just a stamp.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter did a few really
He put
courageous
solar
things.
panels on the White
first
House.
of all, they had the fucking so there was in San Francisco, Harvey Milk was running for mayor or for whatever, and they had this thing Prop 2 or something. It was this anti-gay bill in California, and it was a huge, like, hot button fucking, like, stay away from it kind of thing. And it was like whatever it was, like, yes, no on 2 meant stop this gay anti-gay thing. And there's this great footage of Jimmy Carter at a rally, and he gives a speech, and then he goes off, and then someone gets to him because he went, whoa, no on 2. You got to go no on 2. Like, he came out heavy for gay rights, which was big back then.
Yeah.
So he's
That was
president.
huge. I mean, they were like Hillary was voting against it in
Yes.
2013.
That's right. Obama till fucking
Yeah,
to the last second.
2013.
Yes.
Or it was either 11.
No,
or
Obama was like, I don't think two men, and then they passed the thing. He was like, oh no,
I liked it.
My daughter said it's okay.
He's like, I don't want those fruits getting married.
Yeah. So Jimmy Carter, way ahead of the game. A great thing about Jimmy Carter is that I'd always heard this, that there's two weird things about him. One is that he caught a fucking a fly ball at a game, which is really rare.
Yeah.
You're a president. At the time he was a former president. The odds of a former president catching it's insane.
Yeah.
There's something weird about Jimmy Carter because also I always heard this thing that he saw a UFO and that he'll tell you if you ask him, but he doesn't like talk about it, but he will tell you. And so there's this movie out now called Phenomenon, not the John Travolta thing. It's a documentary about UFOs, and I don't know how real it is.
Yeah.
It's all kinds of stories. It comes across really real. So did Close Encounters. I mean, I don't know, cinema can create a lot of illusions, so I don't know, but it was compelling. But the most compelling thing, because you talk to a guy, he said what he said, right?
Yeah.
So in the extras, not in the movie, but if you watch the extras, I don't know why this is in the movie, but there's some kid in a wheelchair, like, blowing on a one of those guys like this, and you have to wait while he goes, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? One of those guys went to a book signing of Jimmy Carter, and you see Jimmy. This is footage. Jimmy's signing books, and then they bring over a wheelchair guy, and he says, "Can I ask you a question?" And he wasn't taking questions, but he's like, "Sure," because he's in a wheelchair, which means he's a saint. Only really great people are in wheelchairs. There's no assholes in wheelchairs. It doesn't exist. So he asks Jimmy Carter, "Is it true that you saw a UFO?" And Jimmy Carter goes, "Yes." And he asks him, "What was it like?" And he said, it's exactly how they're described.
Yeah.
It's like, it was a strange pill-shaped thing. It was floating, not making any sound. And then it just vanished. It just took off. And he said, when you became president, did you tell them, the State Department? He said, yeah. And they said, just don't worry about it.
Don't even worry about it, dude.
Yes. Jimmy Carter also put on a sweater, and he made a speech where he said, yes, we have an oil crisis, but please just wear a sweater, turn the heat down. He's like, we got to change the way we live. People don't like to be told that in America.
No.
He's like, we got to change the way we live. There's less oil. And we're having to blow up countries in the Middle East because of the oil. It's a problem.
It
was the first energy crisis, and there was gas lines around the block. People couldn't get a fucking tank of gas.
It's not America's.
There was a limit too, like you could only get 3 gallons or 5 gallons, whatever it was. Big gas guzzling cars. It was a cap.
Americans.
Yeah. It's not America's fault. I mean, that's a tale as old as time. When a world leader's like, even they're doing it now with the inflation. They're like, just don't eat as much. It's like, you guys are eating.
Yes, I agree with that.
That's the part. That's the hard part. It's like, you fuckers.
Just crank the handle.
It's like, let them eat cake. It's the same thing.
People aren't going to start moving slower. You're not going to take the human race and say, everybody just...
Yeah. Especially
all of us.
But you have to do it. If the world
China,
leaders...
India, I know you're trying to get out of poverty. I know you're trying to turn on air conditioning so you don't get malaria every 5 minutes. But just a little...
Yeah.
Just put a little... So it's just inevitable. And I think the problem is that you got your nerds. This is American history. Nerds and cowboys. Nerds figure shit out. Cowboys make shit happen. But there's a divide now. Climate denial goes 2 ways. The cowboys are pretending the shit's not changing, and of course it's changing. And the nerds are pretending that folks can just that it's a morality. It's like we can just quiet down, turn the lights off. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
If they all came to the table and said, yes, this is happening, but we're not going to slow down, then the cowboys would fix the fucking, there'd be a big vacuum cleaner going. People talking about terraforming Mars. Do that here. I'm talking straight out of my ass.
No, but
I have no idea what I'm talking about here. I have no idea.
My buddy Steve Gerby,
uninformed opinion.
Gerby's always talks about it, where he's like, I mean, it's not his opinion. He's just the first guy that brought it to me. Is like, we need to burn the resources we have now to figure out how to fucking stop it. Like we can't turn it down now.
Right.
It's too late. We need to work.
Well, like
to find
I read
the
a great interview with the guy in the Wall Street
Probably
Journal.
fucked that up for Gerbies. My bad.
No, the guy this guy in the Wall Street Journal. He's a Pennsylvania guy who is a big natural gas guy. Him and his brother started buying natural gas, and they're like the biggest guys. And he's a big proponent for it as an environmentalist. He says it burns way cleaner, and it's the road to these next things.
Yeah.
He says you can't, every time that you regulate against natural gas, you make people burn coal. The other thing is, do you know what the last time I looked, the number 4 polluting industry in the whole world? Number 4.
Bitcoin.
No, Bitcoin.
Probably like clean energy.
Bitcoin's big.
Farming. Isn't farming number 1?
No, number 4 is the energy, the fucking carbon from creating solar panels.
Oh, no.
Because the Chinese do it very cheaply. Here, to make a solar panel, like the wafer, takes a huge amount of energy. And because of the regulations here, we make them very slowly and carefully, making sure everybody's okay. And it takes a long time and it's very expensive. But the Chinese just use coal and pour it and make these things. They're super cheap, and then we buy them. And we're buying so many of them because of Obama's policy that it's through the roof. It's killing the environment to make solar panels. It's, look, Elon Musk, he makes electric cars. So you know how cap and trade works? So cap and trade means that if you're an auto manufacturer, you have, I'm making up numbers, but let's say you can put out 75 million tons of car. You can make cars that will create 75 million tons of carbon. That's the cap. Okay. Now, if you manage to actually get under 75 and you only put out 50 tons, you can sell 25 tons to another car manufacturer. Okay. So a car manufacturer that's making 75 tons can actually make 100 because he bought that way you just know that there's 3 manufacturers, they're putting out 75 each, and that's tolerable. And so the way to keep them under, it's an incentive. You only put out 25 tons. Congratulations. You can sell that to GM and they can put out. So Elon Musk's cars have none. They put out 0 tons and they sell 100% of their so they actually are they're helping more carbon go into the atmosphere. And that's how they turn a profit. That's their biggest profit point. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
That's all right.
I have no idea.
Fuck it. It's interesting.
Well, will I do part 4? Probably not, unless someone asks. I will. Eventually. I'm sure I'll get to it. I'm not sure. I will. Just the incentive isn't there. I'll donate to my own channel. It'd be funny if you guys see a conversation where I'm just like, I donate to my own channel. And then I thank myself and I'm like, what would you like? Oh, I want you to do part 4. You got it. You guys would be like, okay, if that's what you want to do. All right, well, man, I'm bummed about the Kellen Winslow thing. Couldn't find that. It was a blue piece of paper. I had him right on the back of it. He's a nice guy, though. But anyways, so there's a thanks button. You can donate to the channel. You don't have to. Subscribe. I'm going to give a thumbs up, hit the bell, and I'm going to end this now because I got to do something real fast. I really want a baked potato. I want to make a baked potato. I'm hungry. It's almost 1 o'clock. And I've been doing this for about 3 hours. I've made an hour and 20-minute video in a 3-hour window. So, a lot of talking. So until next time, have a good day, have a good night.